The Pacific Coast is known for its beautiful sights, sounds, and weather. We're here on a great night in San Diego, midway through the season. Playoff implications on the line. The San Francisco Flamethrowers travel to meet their rival, the San Diego Growlers. It's the AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN. Welcome to San Diego, Balboa Stadium, here on a great night for Ultimate. The Flamethrowers travel to face the Growlers, a rematch of last week's action. Great Ultimate here today. Hi everyone, I'm Brian Jones here with Megan Tormey. Great night of Ultimate here planned. And we take a look here, the San Francisco Flamethrowers traveling to face the San Diego Growlers in the Western Division. It's been a tight race so far throughout this season. And really, Megan, it started off with the San Diego Growlers going 0-5 to start the season, but they're on a 3-game winning streak.
Absolutely. They have clearly made the adjustments necessary to put themselves in the running for the playoffs. I think everyone was surprised to see how quickly they were able to take their 2 3-point losses and turn them into 2 3-point wins.
And as you see in the standings here, as we look over the crowd, San Jose clearly in first, one of the only 2 undefeated teams left in the AUDL at 7-0. After that, we look at the Seattle Cascades, and then the Growlers in a surprising 3rd spot for the playoffs. The Flamethrowers are on the outside looking in, trying to get going for today.
Absolutely, but certainly not ready to be discounted. They are a team full of very capable players. They too just need to have those slight adjustments to turn their losses into wins.
And let's take a look at the visitors, the Flamethrowers, and their impact players. Players to watch, game changers here, Lucas Dahlman.
On a team with as many well-rounded players as the Flamethrowers have, Lucas Dahlman stands out as an incredibly versatile, capable player. No matter where he is on the field, offense or defense, with the disc or cutting, he's able to make a major impact. So we're going to need plays from him to help defend the tide that the Growlers are currently riding.
And we take a look at the other side here, the home team, the Growlers. They feature one of the most outstanding players in the game who had a banner year, winning championships and awards, now going to the next level, Jimmy Mickle.
It's really hard to think of a player like Jimmy Mickle getting any better than he is, but at just 23 years old, we're clearly seeing him at the onset of his amazing Ultimate career. He has already had, like you said, a great year last year, and now he is making an impact on the professional field, 32 assists. If he has a great game today, he's going to be a difficult match for the Flamethrowers to handle.
Such a dominant player. It's a great night of Ultimate here today in San Diego. Perfect weather. We're going to get right to the action in just a few minutes.
Zipcar is the world's largest car-sharing network, providing the freedom to go where you want, when you want, with the wheels you want. Just join online and receive your Zip card in the mail. Reserve a car when you need it. And tap your Zip card to get in. Keys are in the car. Gas, insurance, and 180 miles included. Return it to the same spot, lock it up, and you're all set until your next trip. Simple as that. Zipcar. Wheels when you want them.
If you want to follow the AUDL on your phone, now you can. Download the brand new AUDL app on your mobile device and get up-to-the-minute news on your favorite Pro Ultimate team. This is your new home for live scoring, up-to-date standings, game recaps, highlight videos, and more. It's the new best way to follow Ultimate at the highest level. Don't miss any of the thrilling hucks, towering skies, or monstrous layout Ds. Check out the free AUDL app today.
Welcome back here to San Diego, Balboa Stadium, the former home of the San Diego Chargers. I'm Brian Jones with Megan Tormey. Just before the opening poll, with the Growlers set to receive. Excited for this game, Megan, with all the playoff implications abound. We're just midway through the season. What do you expect the keys of the game to be for San Francisco to overcome their latest defeat, which was 21-18 at the hands of the Growlers?
It's so exciting that we get to see this rematch just a week after they played one another, and the Growlers had that epic win against the Flamethrowers. Talking with head coach Joshua Greeno before the game, he said the Flamethrowers have to simplify their offense. It looked like they were flustered a bit by the defense that the Growlers were putting on, namely a zone defense that they just weren't quite prepared for. So they're looking to take it back a step, simplify to see what they can do on offense to work just a little bit better.
And on the other side, we've seen San Diego gain some chemistry as Mickle puts a huck Early. Launched in the air and caught for the goal. Trevor Purdy comes down with that one. The big frame out of Turlock, California, puts the Growlers up 1-0 right away.
And Mickle coming right out to show why he is the player we chose to highlight at the beginning of this game. A big huck, perhaps a little bit floaty, but not so floaty that Trevor Purdy couldn't pull it down. So that is the big difference for the Growlers so far this season. I spoke with Kurt Gibson before the game, and he said they just started to improve their chemistry. They spent some time together, and they started to learn what each other was capable of, and that's how that kind of play can connect so early in the game now that these players have really learned one another.
6'6", 185 pounds, Purdy. See, Rielden actually got the chance to play in Denmark in the past for a team called Ragnarok, one of the prominent club teams in the European scene. So take a look now. We see this Flamethrower offense led by Eli Janin gets things started moving the disc.
And right away we see the Growlers putting on the defense that stymied the Flamethrower offense last week. Let's see if they're able to, as Greeno said, simplify their offense enough to work past this zone.
Flamethrowers now facing a man defense as the Growlers transition. Sammy CK. She's it back. Kiabo finding Janin. Garliov. Gets it upfield for Lang. Lang to the end zone. Pass and outstretched Nick Lance, but that's going to put San Francisco on the board, tying it at 1.
And that's really the kind of play we have come to expect from the Flamethrowers. They are a team of, as I said earlier, very well-rounded individuals, primarily offensively. Anyone who gets the disc on the field is a very capable thrower. And so when you're faced against the zone like that, if you can keep your calm, a team like the Flamethrowers really shouldn't have that much difficulty against it.
Tied here at 1 in San Diego. Both offenses getting off to a good start. Megan, how do you think that zone will change in effectiveness from the last game to this one?
Well, that certainly depends on the Flamethrowers' reaction to it. I imagine that the Growlers didn't do much tweaking since it met with success, but they would have to be able to adjust quickly within a game setting if it looked like the Flamethrowers were no longer afraid of that zone.
Ackley, Colorado product, finding Mickle. Bobbles the disc. Staying with possession back to Ackley. Mickle's such a threat. Now he's looking back. Ackley gets it through. Curtis. Cohen. Double team from the Flamethrowers, and it works. They get the turn and a chance to go up early here in the first quarter.
It was really smart defense played by the Flamethrowers. They were playing some pretty aggressive one-on-one defense. When the opportunity arose, that double team generated this opportunity for them.
Jeffrey hammers to the end zone, finding his man for the score. Brandon Fine comes in for the goal.
And Brian, I think that's going to be the story this game. Which team can take the opportunities they get on D? Both of these teams, great offensively. Both of these teams can generate opportunities on D. But so far, we've seen some pretty low defensive productivity from both teams. Earlier in the season, the Growlers, I believe, were at 40. I believe they were at 44%, and now they're up to 47%. The San Francisco Flamethrowers, their conversion rate is 42%. So whichever team can take those opportunities and really value the disc, that's going to be the difference maker, because we know this game is going to be close.
So you've been watching the AUDL for a long time here, many years. How do you feel about the effectiveness of the double team? Is it a defensive strategy worth implementing?
Absolutely, especially when you can push one of the teams to the sideline. It really takes away a lot of opportunities. On top of that, with players as tall as some of these teams have, imagine just throwing up against the wall. It's bad enough being trapped against the sideline, then of course against tall two defenders, that's really tough.
And We have a disc thrown up in the end zone, and a foul call is going to give San Francisco a goal. And I don't know about that one. Looks like a lot of bodies gathering around. Megan, what do you think?
I think we're going to have to take a look at the replay. Of course, we have that luxury here in the booth. Those on the field can only surmise what they saw in an instant. But if it stands, that gives San Francisco quite a lead. Like I said, we know these games are going to be tight. If you get an early head start against the Growlers, you might be able to maintain and withhold that the rest of the game.
Looks like he just ran into his own player. Burns there, comes in, runs into his own player. Madden, it looks like, did come down with it, and the referee spotted it. Madden had it in his hands. I think that would be a strip call. And a goal here for San Francisco, and San Diego now reeling, has to respond. Centers to Ackley. We see Gibson joining the field, one of the other big players. Collision is going to be called a foul. It's going to give the Growlers 10-yard advantage. Gibson looking underneath. Gets it back. Ackley finding Mickle. So far, Megan, we're seeing the Growlers stay on one side of the field. Is this a product of the San Francisco defense or just some short-sightedness by the offense?
I would have to say it's the Flamethrower defense. It looks like they're doing a good job of quickly taking away opportunities, and the Growlers are having a hard time breaking through the wall that the Flamethrowers are putting up.
So another double team situation, and reaching for a long pass isn't going to work out. San Diego with errors early on offense, and you got to be praising the San Francisco defensive game plan coming into this one.
Yeah, they're definitely making an impact both offensively and defensively, but I'm surprised that they've come out with the intensity that we've seen so far today.
Looking deep, has an open man, almost there, couldn't make the catch. Patrick Leahy with his arms outstretched. He's the brother of Taylor Leahy as well on the squad. And Gibson fires back for Mickle. Mickle and Dahlman. Jimmy Mickle comes down with it. Cohen. Back to Mickle. Looking around for Ackley. Ackley can't make the catch, and it's after the amazing play, it's right back in San Francisco's hands. Dahlman. Scoobers safely out of the double team, finding Leahy. Underneath the Hubbard. And a foul will be called. 10 yards awarded to the Flamethrowers after the double team attempt here by the Growlers. Hubbard underneath. Kita. Sugioka. Leahy now getting close to the end zone. Dahlman gets a tip disc, finds an open man, not in. Miller gets it back. Fits it in, not into the end zone yet. Looking for the dish. And another foul. Ackley here on the goal line won't make much of a difference. Some confusion. We got a play now restarted. Miller dishes it for the goal, and San Francisco goes up 4-1. Ben Hubbard with the reception. San Francisco on quite a run, and we talked about at the beginning of the game, Megan. It looked like San Diego was starting to generate some movement with chemistry. What do they need to do now to get back in this game?
Well, they need to start working the disc offensively a little bit smoother. Earlier when you asked if their struggles offensively was due in large part to the Flamethrowers defense, I would still say yes. I don't think, however, they're doing a good job of using the entire AUDL field. They're keeping it close to one sideline. They're not looking for a deep swing so that they can work it up the break side, or even just spread out their offensive opportunities. So I think if they try and pull their offense apart just a little bit more, it won't make the job of the Flamethrowers defense quite so easy.
San Diego trying to get back. Parisi underneath the Leggio. Curtis. It's a short pass after Leggio. Leggio, a product from San Diego State University. The big around throw for the goal, sliding grab, Ben Clark.
And that was a much better example of using the full width of the AUDL foul. That was a pretty sweet pass from the near sideline to the far one, with just enough outside in to bend it around the Flamethrower defender.
You see San Diego back in the game. A little bit of work to do, but as you said, the dump swing leads to success. So now we see some of the heavy power come back on the field. Gibson. Kurt Gibson, just a fantastic player. One of the best in the game, and just an incredible story coming down with colon cancer just a few years ago and being able to battle up back and become this elite athlete. Megan, it looks like we're seeing that zone again. What can you tell us that they're trying to accomplish with this defense?
Well, they're trying to take away downfield opportunities. They're trying to minimize the lanes in which the Flamethrowers can work. But it looks like the Flamethrowers are doing a better job this time around of taking whatever shot is open, even if it's a dump pass. So when you take those opportunities, whichever they might be, it might not be what you want to do, it can really help keep the disc alive in your favor.
So the zone works out with a ill-advised hammer to the end zone, doesn't connect. Gibson picking up the disc. Gibson known for his hucking ability. Starts things off from underneath. And we've seen him on other teams have this nature to try to get the disc every other throw. Purdy getting it off, just made a great sky earlier in the game. Floats one up and back to San Francisco. Jeffrey, quick hitch to the end zone and the score. Henry Conker for the Flamethrowers puts another one on the stat sheet.
And Jeffrey with an amazing run through D. That is one of those lessons you learn early in Ultimate, run to the disc. The Growlers slowed just enough for Jeffrey to make a quick from behind grab for that disc.
I mean, Megan, it seems early on here we're just seeing more intensity and more focus from these Flamethrowers. They look ready to go early on. And do you think that it's just been a tactical adjustment, or is it a mindset that they're just bringing here today?
Well, as I said, I talked with Joshua Greeno, the head coach from the Flamethrowers, before the game, and he didn't seem to imply that they had made a large number of changes, just that they were trying to work a little more simply on offense. But they are coming out with a very hungry attitude, so I have to think this is primarily mental. They know, as you said, that they're standing on the outside looking in terms of the playoff opportunities. There are large stakes on this game.
Montreal in other news, actually taking away from New York. That's the first time they've done that in their 2-year history, the Royale. We come back here, and the Growlers are back in the end zone, getting a little bit of rhythm underneath. David Flock gets it in the end zone for the goal as we get started in this game. Now we'll see Nick Lance take the field. He's one of those other strong players, but let's take a look here. Mickle dissects the double team. You know, Megan, it seems like the double team can produce a lot of turnovers, but do you see it as a risky strategy that sometimes lets up easy goals?
It can be a risky strategy if the rest of the field is not prepared to help compensate for the fact that that two players are taking one player on the opposing team. So as long as the rest of the field is heads up about it and is looking primarily for those deep shots, I don't think it's risky. I think it offers more opportunities than not. However, if everyone else on the field is thinking straight man defense, then yes, absolutely, that can pose a serious threat.
More zone here from the Growlers, trying to contain this Flamethrowers movement. They're content to work it amongst each other. Leahy, Chiavo, Dahlman scoobers to Chiavo, Akita. Quick little dishes seem to be getting it done here for the Flamethrowers. Thane back to Dahlman. Letting Conker on the sideline, will be in bounds. Conker and Gibson were actually teammates this past summer, playing in a Denver club squad. Hubbard lays one out to Leahy. And that will be a goal for San Francisco. Going back up 6-3. Leahy has been a San Francisco standout for a while now. Has played a smaller role on some other teams, but here today, Megan playing a very give-and-go style with his other handlers. And it seems like San Francisco is getting very comfortable with that zone defense. Do you switch to man-to-man if you're San Diego right now?
I would think so. When, after a short period of time, the opposing team has a 3-point lead on you within just the first quarter, I really do think it's time to try something else defensively, especially when you have a team as talented as the Growlers. It's not as though they need to depend on their zone defense. It should be seen as something in the arsenal. However, we are in week 7. There is a lot riding on the line. But at the same time, at some point, you have to practice these things. If it's important to the Growlers to iron out any issues in the zone this point in the season so that they can rely on it later, then I understand why they're continuing to keep it.
I got to tell you, when we're taking a look at the West Coast style versus the East Coast, I see so much more double teaming taking place at the start of possessions. It seems that they're just saying, you know what, this is a wider field than maybe we're used to playing, 53 yards. The offense has the advantage. Why not double team at the beginning and take a risk? Taking a shot for Mickle. This one's going to go out of bounds and back to San Francisco.
Well, now that we're talking about the playoffs so much, we'd like to ask you guys, what 2 other teams do you think will be in the Western Division playoffs besides the San Jose Spiders? The Growlers made a surprise within the last 3 weeks by winning 3 in a row. So really at this point, anything could happen. I'd like to hear your thoughts. You can hit us up on Twitter at NoLookScuba. That's Brian Jones. At Meagles000. That's my Twitter handle. And of course at the AUDL.
And a great D gets it back for San Diego. Ackley facing double team, pushes it back. Ackley in his own end zone. The Flamethrowers can really clamp down on defense. Has to look for an option, avoids the stall. Now to Mickle. Cohen. Finding Mickle once again. Mickle has an open receiver, puts this one up. Cohen. See ya, into the end zone. 6-4. San Diego goes within 2.
Cohen turns on the Jets and nobody follows. Apparently his defender did not notice that he was cutting deep when Jimmy Mickle had the disc in his hands.
And that's something that makes Mickle so tough. He is so good with the disc in his hands, but also you try to deny him the disc, and you see this matchup here with Kearns. Mickle can put it up, but he can also go deep. We saw him earlier with the sky. Megan, if you're San Francisco, what is your choice? What poison do you pick to get beaten by?
Well, that's a good point. I would prefer to see Mickle with the disc. Well, no, maybe not. With 32 assists, I suppose that's probably where he's the most lethal. Yeah. Yeah, I think you probably take your chances deep. Put your best deep defender on him. Don't let him go in. Take your chances there.
Jeffrey receiving. Quick swings around. Forgotten. Wide open. Now putting it into the heart, right to the defender. Lance picks it up for the easy D. And an easy drop. Referee is ruling it down. Smith trying to pretend like everything was all right. That would have been an outrageous catch to save. We have a timeout on the field, and we'll take a short break here. San Francisco out to a hot start. They lead 6-4 against the home team. San Diego Growlers will attempt to come back here in the first quarter, the AUDL Game of the Week.
Hi, Tom Bodette. I tried to write this script on my smartphone, but I couldn't figure out how to turn off the autocorrect feature. So you'll have to trust me when I say that at Motel 6, you can still get a clam comforter roam for the loamiest rice of any national chin. You can brook by carving 1-800-4-MOTEL-6 online or with our new mobile applesauce on your phone or toilet. I hate this dock and thong. I'm Tom Bordeaux for Motel 6, and we'll heave the Brighton farm you. Close enough.
Back here in San Diego with 59 seconds to go in the first quarter, and San Francisco was off to a red-hot start. They now lead 6-4 with a chance to put it in, and we see Eli Janin pick up the disc. Megan, Eli Janin has been a centerpiece amongst the San Francisco Bay Area teams for a while now. What makes him so good?
Well, he's one of the star throwers on the San Francisco Flamethrower. There's a lot he can do with the disc, and he will take some shots and put it in some prime places for whoever is running for the disc. A person who has that kind of disc throwing capabilities is always going to stand out.
Eli Janin played his college years at Oregon and has since ventured to the Bay Area. He was one exciting player to watch in college. Got a chance to see him specifically at College Nationals 2010 in Madison. Three-quarters game, Oregon versus California, Berkeley. Grudge match that ended Oregon's season. Dahlman. Back to Janin. Janin curves one to Jeffrey. Left-handed grab. Easy pass to the end zone, and you can see Janin's vision there, Megan, finding the opening for Jeffrey to make the catch. And Jeffrey out of Barrow, Alaska, 6'4". Played for a long time in this Bay Area, playing at Stanford. Easy target to hit.
Yeah, and like you said, you can see Janin's foresight as well as his disc throwing capabilities. You have to be a very skilled thrower to put that kind of bend on the Frisbee and have it go exactly where you want it to go. Jeffries didn't have that wide of a margin of error, and yet there was no chance for a defender to get it.
Brendan Thien with the goal. 7-4 with 43 seconds left in the first quarter. You know, all in all, San Diego, it seems like to be fortunate to come out of here if they can put one in. Only down by 2 going into the second quarter. Ackley, a fortunate pull. Mickle. Mickle floats a hammer. Curtis to Ackley. Looking back, finding Gibson. 20 seconds to go here in the first quarter. Mickle. No hesitation to Ackley. Ackley over the top, finding Curtis. San Diego, the Growlers bring it within 2.
Chilly play from the Growlers. At times, their offense seems to be a little bit clustered. Earlier in the point, there were 3 players in the open lane, cutting off all opportunities for downfield momentum. But every now and then, they're able to pull it out and generate more opportunities. As I said earlier, Jimmy Mickle is leading in hockey assists on this team as well. So you can see if he's not throwing the assist, he's likely setting it up as he did in that play just there.
Another player that, with a lot of experience, Joshua Ackley, playing for Colorado in college. An expert thrower. had his opportunities to win a couple of national championships. Mickle, high-hanging pole that's going to come out of bounds and going to give San Francisco a great setup with 9.6 left on the clock. Janin, we've seen him put some monster hucks to end the half, but from here, it's well within his range to put one deep. Janin, the clock starts. Jeffrey puts it up, doesn't waste any time, but nobody's there. Mickle with 4 to go. Gibson launches one, and it's not going to make it. Janin gets the D, and we have a foul called by the ref. It looks like this may be San Diego disc. And they'll conference and figure out what's going on in the field.
This might set up one of those interesting end of quarter situations that Evan talked about in his Tuesday toss. How people conduct themselves in the few remaining seconds can really make or break either a game or a quarter for the team.
And Jeffrey is incensed. And still, the referee's trying to figure out what's going on. Still, it looks like Gibson will get the disc. Well, never mind. He'll take off for the end zone. 0 seconds showing on the clock, but I think we'll have 10. Puts a scuba up. Gibson in the back. Not caught for the goal, and showing zeros on the clock. Looks like we're done here in the first quarter. After all that, nothing much comes of it, but we're here. San Francisco leading 7-5. Nickerson trying to find Gibson in the back of the end zone. Exciting first quarter of action here at Balboa Stadium in San Diego. We'll be back in a few minutes here to see if the Growlers can respond down by 2 here in the AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN. Back here in San Diego, Balboa Stadium, end of the first quarter, beginning of the second. I'm Brian Jones here with Megan Tormey. And right off the bat, we saw San Francisco get off to a red-hot start. But Jimmy Mickle and company for San Diego has battled back to keep it within 2. Megan, what do you expect to see here in the second quarter? How does San Diego adjust, and how does San Francisco continue their success?
Well, San Francisco simply has to keep playing the game they have been playing. They've been taking opportunities away from the Growlers defensively, and their offense has been very smooth, very calm, just as they were hoping to have it run at the beginning of this game. San Diego, on the other hand, they need to spread out their offense a little bit. They're working in too small of corridors to give themselves many opportunities, and the opportunities that they are getting towards the end zone are typically long puts. And although they have that ability, it's not as high percentage as working it up slowly. So they need to give both of those looks a little more breathing room.
We'll see if San Diego can adjust, and they certainly have the players to do it. As we take a look, Growlers head coach Mike Bevers. San Francisco to receive to start out here in the second quarter. Eli Janin leading the way, and there's Jimmy Mickle, number 23. College sensation, has done it for Team USA at U23s in Toronto. Coming out of Colorado, and now here as one of the travel players. Pull starts off, and we'll see Kearns pick up the disc. More zone here from San Diego. So they try to work it back and forth and now find the hole to Sammy CK. Looks like a transition to man. Chiavo gets it off. Floating one around. Kearns, no hesitation, throws the blade. Madden has to drop to the knees to make the catch. Janin, the vision, finds another one in the end zone. Madden once again.
Janin honestly making that look a little too easy. It's almost casual the way he stood back and threw both of those puts. You have to know and trust your player to throw that kind of blade, and then really for him to see all of the field that he did in such a short period of time made that score look super easy.
We're sitting here and we've asked you the playoff question. We had response here from Awful Waffles. Definitely the San Francisco Flamethrowers and Seattle Cascades. Awful Waffles, I'll give you the Seattle Cascades. I don't know about the Flamethrowers yet, but we're seeing a nice, impressive start. And we've talked about Janin, but Megan, tell me, who's the better thrower out of him or Eli Kearns? Because both are exceptional.
I don't know that I can answer that question. They're both fantastic, and they both are super impactful on this flamethrower squad. So that says a lot, because we've talked so much about the versatility of all the players on the San Francisco Flamethrowers, and to have both Eli's stand out the way they do, it's really impressive. I will say I do think Janin does some really interesting things with the disc. He can bend it in some really fascinating ways. So that I will say I think he has over Kearns.
Growlers try to go deep, and San Francisco says no. It's Fain coming up with another one. Akita to Leahy. Marliov. Dahlman. Finds Conker on the line. Back to Leahy. Miller. It's an inside break, finding Dahlman. In for the goal, Lucas Dahlman, one of our game changers, making a difference here in the second quarter. 2 straight for San Francisco here in the first half.
That was a tough inside-out put to the front of the end zone. Dahlman made it a little bit easier by making a tight fake and then a hard cut to the opposite side, opening up the field of opportunity for his thrower.
Take a look here. Fain has been coming up with some nice blocks and nice interceptions. And Leahy has, not the thrower that Janin or Kearns is, but done a lot of work with his legs so far. Ball goes up. San Diego will take it. This goes out of bounds, and Ackley will run to get the disc. 11:02 remaining here in the first half. The beginning of the season, we got in a room in Chicago on one of our training days, and we had a podcast with Evan and Chuck Kindred, and we talked about how San Diego was going to be one of the teams that everybody thought could win a championship. Mickle looking to Gibson. Gibson too fast for his defender. It's San Diego back on the board. But we were talking about San Diego being one of the best teams in the league, and we thought, hey, they go 0-5. Maybe they're out of playoff contention. They win 3 straight. But here today, I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. San Francisco is really taking it to them.
Well, the difference that needs to be pointed out between the Growlers and the Flamethrowers is that this is the inaugural season for the Growlers, and so it is going to take them longer into the season to coalesce and come together. I think that the West Coast in particular, we certainly can't discount anyone just yet. It's way too early. These players have a lot more improving to do as individuals, as a team, and so it's pretty hard to make definitive yes and no statements about any team at this point. But you have made an excellent point. The Flamethrowers are looking really smooth today in a way that perhaps we haven't seen them before, especially coming off of a 3-loss streak. That's really hard to come out and give a game, give your best effort the way they are doing today.
Don't tell Chuck Kindridge that it's not a yes or no question. What was he said last week?
Are
Do they have Jimmy Mickle? Do they have Kurt Gibson? Then what are we talking about? Of course they're going to win the title. We'll see here.
Like, is this even a question? Are we even discussing this?
When we take a look at some of the other scores around the league, Cincinnati going over Detroit 29-25. Raleigh over Charlotte 27-18. But Charlotte, they came up with their first win in their franchise history last weekend. Great start for them. We know that Raleigh and Atlanta and Jacksonville going to be competing for 2 of those playoff spots. Janin facing the zone once again with Leahy. Ling Jeffrey. Now in the middle of the field, and it looks San Diego will transition to man defense. Sugioka. Dahlman. Hubbard. Finding Janin. He gives it to Dahlman. To Leahy. And a little too cute, gives it back to San Diego. Goodman. And a timeout called by San Diego. They're in desperate need here of a comeback with only 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Down by 3. We'll see what they can do after the timeout. This is the AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN in San Diego.
Motel 6 is rolling out their bright, modern, updated rooms across America, so I thought I'd give you the tour. To your right, you'll see some brand new comfy bedding and bold new colors. To your left, you'll find a new flat-screen TV, so luxuriously flat. Plus, a fully updated bathroom. You get all this and more, still for the lowest price of any national chain. Take it in. Take it all in. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
As we come out of the timeout, take a look here, 9-6. And you know, before the game, we got to talk to Coach Joshua Greeno. Played his years in Oregon, but really what was the star of the show was that T-shirt, the flame-throwing T-shirt that he had on. It looks like it was express out of eBay, he told us. And the detail was just immaculate, Megan. Taking a look down at the buttons as well. They have their own flames on it. Perfect shirt for a flamethrower coach.
I was sure to ask him if he purchased that for this game specifically, or if he purchased it because his wardrobe really needed a flame-covered shirt. And he assured me that he purchased it just for this game only. Though either answer would have been perfectly acceptable.
I know I need to go out and buy one myself now. Every person's wardrobe should have. You need more flames.
Yeah, it's really a shame you can't see from this distance, but the buttons really do make the shirt.
Mickle blasting one. Going to be contentious. Bumped in the back. And no foul called. Sugioka was on defense against Leggio. And the crowd is not happy. Looks like this could be an integrity rule. Sugioka just runs right in the back of Leggio. Leggio will get it. Back to Mickle. Fits it into Gibson. Finding the narrow seam. San Diego's timeout works out in favor. 8 minutes to go here in the first half. I'm starting to settle in here a little bit, but San Francisco built that edge up with some fiery play early on. We'll look here. pretty easy when you have Mickle trying to find Gibson.
Yeah, those two individuals have played on the club circuit together. They're both fantastic players as individuals. Given that they have some ultimate history together, certainly makes for on-field connections much easier.
Chemistry so important for these teams, and that's what we were seeing. Pole here from the Growlers. Janin to receive. More zone defense. Wide open receivers here for San Francisco, just working it up the field. Kearns unleashes a hammer, but Purdy is there. What a beautiful throw, but you thought that might beat the defender, but Purdy with his 6'6" frame is gonna reel that one in.
Well, his frame and his speed were both helpful in that D. He came from all the way across the field to stop that score opportunity.
Now, the San Diego defensive offenses seem to struggle. If you're Gibson, do you just unleash this one to Purdy?
I don't think that's the answer for San Diego. As I said earlier, I really think they need to be able to flow a little better offensively. And as tempting as that can be, after a while, the Flamethrowers will definitely adjust. And if all you're doing is trying to huck it deep, then it's really not that hard to just hold back and wait for the big throw to go off. So even though Gibson has that capability, I think, and he wisely did, try to use his entire team to advance the disc.
Janin. And then Chiavo to the end zone. Along the line, Lang gets the goal and gets the lead back to 3 for San Francisco. Lars Lang played for Notre Dame before moving out and playing for California all over the coast, a little bit in LA, and then for Blackbird in 2013, 2014.
And interestingly, he loves hosting underground dinner parties. If you are unfamiliar with the concept, it's this unspoken community of people who like to enjoy good food together. So it's very tough to get invited to these. I just recently found out what this phenomenon is by individuals in Chicago who opened up a little breakfast and lunch nook near our spot. So it's pretty cool, pretty swank. He must be a foodie to be a hoster of underground dinner clubs.
Megan, why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Sign me up.
Well, I can't sign you up. That's the point. It's kind of like the Fight Club of food.
First rule of underground dinner parties. Mickle. Kirkland gets it off. For the around, Leggio. Mickle. No hesitation. Has Curtis. Inside break. No problem. San Diego responds.
So the Growlers starting to do a little bit better job of using the field in its entirety, but they still are plagued every few passes by congestion. You notice the throw to Curtis was wide open, but then Curtis had a little bit of traffic that he had to work through to get that disc to Cohen. On the flip side, the Flamethrowers have been doing a fantastic job of keeping their offense spaced enough that no one is ever in one another's way. In fact, I've really been impressed with the way the Flamethrowers have been working it up to the 20, and then they have a lot of spread within the end zone or just outside the end zone, so they're not trying to force it into the front couple feet of the end zone. They're really doing a good job of using the space very nicely.
And both offenses have settled down just a little bit. There have been these openings for both defensive lines to respond. But really, you start to see the players that we've talked about take over. Dahlman, Kearns, on the other side, Gibson and Mickle. More zone here. Forced to go back for Janin. You know, it doesn't seem that like the zone defense is pressuring the backfield much, but when you saw sometimes San Francisco puts their players way behind the disc. Right now with Janin, why do they do that?
Well, I would use that to try and spread the field as much as possible, so you have a nice short flat pass a few yards away from you, and that way you can kind of hit the sidelines a little bit easier. I would suspect that's why they're doing it, to keep their spread wide.
Putting it up for Kearns. Kearns gets it anyway! Off of the tip. Eli Kearns, and the kick spike for good measure.
Second effort grab with his momentum shifting really far forward, able to pull that one down. That was fantastic.
And it was a great play by the defender. Unfortunately, didn't finish. Steven Milardovich, another San Diego State Federale player in college. Well, can't wait to take a look at this one. You know, it looks like Kearns has the separation, but Milardovich, and then Kearns with the concentration and the swim move to finish. And this is one of the reasons why Ultimate is one of the best sports around. You just get to see all kinds of athletic plays. I know the crowd loves to see it. Quick movement. San Francisco tries to play off just a little bit. Lenta. Parisi. Tries to fit it in the Mickle, but a great block. Conquer and Mickle played together in the summer, not friendly anymore. Marliov. Jeffrey. Hubbard. Chance to extend the lead to 4. Conquer finding Hubbard in the end zone. See ya. 12-8 San Francisco leads.
Hubbard, plenty of separation from any potential Growler defense. Had the height and the position to reel in a much more difficult catch. Had an easy time with that one.
I do have to say, I was joking a little bit earlier. Conquer and Mickle still probably are great friends.
Still probably great friends.
You know, this one of the great things about this Ultimate community is it's just, you know, we're starting to get to the next level here with the pro leagues, but just a great community to be involved in. Very welcoming. You know, we talked to Mickle beforehand. He's a player who's won a lot of championships, now has a chance to play in the pro level. And he said, I'm playing because I enjoy the game. I like playing, I like traveling, I like meeting people. But he also likes winning.
Yeah. Well, he's clearly very good at it, regardless if that's his motivation or not. It's a product of his love for this sport.
Smith. Finding Gibson back. Gibson. The around to Lance. San Francisco doing a good job of pressuring right now. San Diego slowing down in their attack. To Lance. Floats one. And Dahlman gets the block. Kearns. CK. Chatterton Kirchmeyer. And a foul called on the play. Play will restart. Gibson on the mark. Gibson doing everything he can, but now they have to go to the end zone. Lance tips it, and Dahlman makes the catch, but ruled inbounds. What a grab by Lucas Dahlman. We'll have to see here. Trying to get it around. Puts it up for anybody. Lance gets the D. Dahlman bobbles. And his foot was on the line. Unfortunate here for the Growlers, but that one should have been out. Dahlman landing on the line after bobbling the disc, and Lance unfortunately has to watch up and see that rule to goal. Nick Lance, great effort. You know, no stranger to making big plays. If you ever want to see some of the best highlight reel footage, go look up Nick Lance's Callahan video. Callahan, basically the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in college, and he won it back in 2012. Fantastic sequence.
You followed Nick Lance for a couple of years, so you knew him fairly well, right?
Yeah, I got the chance while I was in college, and you know, he really, the Scuba's always been popular, but he really took it to the next level with some of the plays that he's had. Him and Jay Clark led a Georgia Tech team to nationals for the first time in a long time. Putting it up to the end zone, over the top. Leggio boxes out. Gets it in for the goal. A really important one there for San Diego. And San Francisco has just been the better team in this first half. And Megan, as we reel down here in the first half, go into the second, if you're the coach of the San Diego team, what adjustments are you trying to make?
Well, I still think that they could improve their overall offensive flow. I think it's improved since the first quarter, but I think if they work a little bit more, just talk about adjustments they can make on the field, like how they're setting up their stack, where players are cutting from, how quickly those downfield cutters churn. I think that might make things a little bit easier for them. Defensively, I'd love to see them put a little more pressure on, whether that's by intensifying the zone they're playing or switching exclusively to one-on-one. I think either of those things would make a pretty big difference in this game.
And we'll see if they can respond. I mean, they're facing a bevy of throwers here with Kearns and Janin and Dahlman. Slovin finding Janin. Chiavo. And you know, Janin, when you look at him, he doesn't have the prototypical, should we say, just skinny build, but let me tell you, that guy can lay out like nobody else's business. You know, if you might think that you have an advantage, but Eli Janin can absolutely hit the deck and get some amazing blocks. We've seen it before. Very explosive player. This one, though, an error is going to give it back to San Diego, just what they need. Gibson throws a hammer, finding Purdy. Purdy, no hesitation. Lays it out too far for Will Griffin.
Just a little too much adrenaline motivating that throw. Just quite unfortunate. Wide open field for the Growlers. It should have been an easy score.
Back to Janin. Makes the grab. There's going to be an injury on the field. Griffin goes down hard. Take a look again. Griffin appears to be holding his shoulder and getting looked at on the field, and so far has not gone San Diego's way. This would be an unfortunate injury. We'll have a timeout on the field. We'll be right back here to see if San Francisco can extend their lead before the half. This is the AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN.
Next Saturday, our season-long journey takes us to the best in the West. The San Jose Spiders are the defending AUDL champions and looking even stronger in 2015. Reigning MVP Bo Kittredge leads the Spiders as they return home to battle Los Angeles. The Aviators dream of dethroning the champs, and the last time these two teams met, the game was decided by 1. Join us at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for San Jose and LA, live on Watch ESPN and ESPN3.
Back here in the waning moments of the first half, you can look at the Growlers mascot. Play about to resume on the field. Looks like some confusion off the start. Referees figuring it out. It's going to be a 10-yard penalty. San Francisco backed up in their own end zone. Diabo. Burns finding Chiavo. Gibson with a strip. Finds the inside. Looking for Dahlman. Dahlman outstretched. Chiavo drops it. Back to San Diego with 30 seconds to go. Timeout called here by the Growlers. They're going to sit here for a little bit. We'll stay with you as we kind of recap the first half action. I mean, take a look. San Francisco has done such a great job getting off to this start, and we have 26 seconds to go. San Diego, it looks like at best, will bring this within 3. Just here in beautiful San Diego, the weather can't get much nicer than this. The former home of the San Diego Chargers were here at Balboa Stadium. They actually had the played here from 1961 to 66. Before some of the stadium was actually gutted. You can see some of the other, as you look around the geography, the hills around here. You can look at Eli Janin, one of the more fun players to watch. And the Growlers are coming out of this timeout. We have Jimmy Mickle on the field, and a guy like Purdy, who's done such a good job. Trevor Purdy played for UCSD from 2010 to 2015. Making a big difference on the field today, a lot of big plays. So San Diego will take it, and it looks like there's actually 10.7 left on the clock. Ackley. Dahlman faking the double team, has Conker on the mark. Finding Gibson, 9 to go. Underneath. Puts it up for Purdy. Lance with the grab. Oh my goodness, Nick Lance. 1.0 to go. I think that's going to be our club junior catch of the game. Taking a look here, and as San Diego comes out of timeout, they're able to move the disc around. Gibson showing some patience. Now with just 1 second left on the clock. Nick Lance again out of Georgia Tech, one of the highlight reel machines. We take a look, Gibson. Finds Milardovich. Milardovich thought he might be looking for Purdy, but then there's Nick Lance over the top. Over Ben Fine, who's had a great game so far. Excuse me, Brandon Fine. Mickle with the pull. And Janin doesn't take any time at all, puts it deep. Purdy goes up, gets the block, and San Diego will keep it within 3. Janin with quite the cannon. Well, we end the first half here as we take a look at the final play. Purdy comes up in a pack. No real chance there for San Francisco. As we head into the end of the first half, San Francisco did a great job starting off this game with a little bit more fire after losing by 3 points, although they did have the lead last week. We're getting set almost to go down the field to Megan in just a few moments. She'll be interviewing Eli Janin. Great crowd here on tonight in Balboa Stadium, and we'll have games going on at halftime. It's been a great game so far. Plays by Mickle. San Francisco with Dahlman, Kearns, and Janin has just been ready to go. So we're about ready to go on the field. I think we'll go down to Megan Tormey right now, who's about ready to interview Eli Janin.
Thanks so much, Brian. Eli, you were instrumental in leading the offense this first half. Clearly going much better for you than last weekend. What's been the difference offensively for the Flamethrowers?
I think that we brought a few people closer to the Frisbee on their zone, and we're just making better decisions. We're moving the Frisbee early in the stall count and try not to force anything. And when we do that, it's a lot easier.
And are there any changes or adjustments leading into the second half?
I think defensively, we just want to keep getting our marks even closer. The more defensive pressure, the harder it is. They obviously have a handful of really good throwers, so we're just trying to make everything difficult for them, take away as many of those easy around and inside-out throws as we can.
Going into this game, you guys have looked super comfortable and confident. How are people feeling leading into this game?
I think pretty good. We had a rough weekend last weekend. We dropped a pair. But we're just trying to take it one game at a time and come out and play really hard. And when we play hard and we make mistakes when we're going hard, that's acceptable. We just want to make sure we have energy, and when we have energy, we're good.
All right, well, thanks so much. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks.
Brian, back to you.
Thanks, Megan. We'll be back here in just a few minutes with some highlight packages. That was the end of the first half. The San Francisco Flamethrowers lead the San Diego Growlers 13-10. Stay tuned for our highlight packages, top 10 plays of the week. I'm Brian Jones, and we'll be back here with Megan Tormey to start the second half.
We're going to teach your kids about sportsmanship, spirit of the game. We're going to teach our kids conflict resolution. They're going to have a great time. They're going to get an amazing message about cancer. It's not a death sentence. It's not something you need to be scared of. It's something that you need to have a winning attitude towards, like an opponent on a field.
The AUDL has brought a lot of professionalism to Eric. The players are all big role models. They're perfect Eric ambassadors. They teach the game. They love kids. Kids love them. It's just a great combination.
Go Team Eric!
We are Team Eric! In the middle of May, playoff pictures beginning to come into focus. A pair of Friday night matchups in the Midwest last week, and Madison brought its sensational stingy defense to stay undefeated. The Radicals held off Chicago 16-13. Meanwhile, Indianapolis jumped on Detroit early, and the AlleyCats led wire to wire in their 28-18 victory over the Mechanix. Saturday's Midwest action saw Indianapolis complete a perfect weekend, storming past Cincinnati 27-18. Chicago and Minnesota battled in the Twin Cities, but tied 12-all in the fourth. A thunderstorm halted the game, and it has been officially declared a draw. So in the Midwest, the battle to make the playoffs looks like it will involve 4 teams for 3 spots. Chicago and Indy don't play each other again in the regular season, but they'll likely be competing against each other the rest of the way in pursuit of a postseason berth. San Jose remains along with Madison as the only undefeated teams in the AUDL. Last Friday, the Spiders improved to 23-1 all-time in this league by defeating San Francisco for the third time this year. Bo Kittredge led the Spiders with 5 goals, and that was the final margin. San Jose prevailed 20-15. On Saturday, San Francisco is back at home to face San Diego. The Flamethrowers built a 13-10 lead, but the Growlers closed strong, winning their third game in a row. San Diego over San Francisco, 21-18. Meanwhile, a crazy finish in Vancouver. Kevin Underhill's Huck to Gagan Chotha beats the buzzer, tying the score at 22 with no time left in regulation. In the overtime, the Riptide ran off the final 5 goals to win the overtime thriller 27-24 over Los Angeles. One day later, the Aviators could not bounce back. Seattle's Matt Rader scored 6 goals, and the Cascades moved back above the 500 mark with a 29-19 victory. Incredibly, the Western standings show 5 teams all within a game and a half of each other behind first place San Jose. The playoff hunt seriously intensifies now out west. Every game so meaningful the rest of the way, with only the top 3 going to the playoffs. How about some East Coast action? First ever meeting between Ottawa and Montreal. The Outlaws very much needing a win at home, and with Derek Alexander distributing, 19-year-old Jeremy Hill served as a key deep striker. 6 goals for Hill. The Outlaws led by 4 goals late and hung on to prevail over the Royale 25-24. Elsewhere in the East, the Toronto Rush relied on Jeff Lindquist. 6 goals and 8 assists for the veteran as the Rush rolled past Rochester 37-21. The New York Empire kept pace with Toronto in their matchup against DC. A true team win for New York over the Breeze, 22-18. In the East, Toronto and New York looking strong atop the division, while Montreal, Ottawa, and DC all maintaining visions of joining the top 2 in the postseason. Unlike the other 3 divisions, down south, only 2 teams will qualify for the 2015 AUDL playoffs. And if Jacksonville wanted to be included in the party, the Cannons needed to beat Atlanta, a very important game, and Jacksonville came to play. Misha Freystadter scored 6. Cole Sullivan delivered 6 assists. And the Cannons handed the Hustle just their second loss. Jacksonville a winner, 26-22. Also in the South last weekend, the Charlotte Express picked up their first win in franchise history, 29-26 over Nashville. One day later, Nashville traveled to Raleigh and kept the game close in the first half. But the first place Flyers dominated the third quarter and stormed away to a 33-22 triumph. Here's the thing about the South. It's the only division in the league where every team has a win and every team has at least 1 loss. Raleigh, Atlanta, and Jacksonville looking like they're in a 3-team chase for 2 spots in the postseason. If you want to follow the AUDL on your phone, now you can. Download the brand new AUDL app on your mobile device and get up-to-the-minute news on your favorite Pro Ultimate team. This is your new home for live scoring, up-to-date standings, game recaps, highlight videos, and more. It's the new best way to follow Ultimate at the highest level. Don't miss any of the thrilling hucks, towering skies, or monstrous layout Ds. Check out the free AUDL app today.
Zipcar is the world's largest car sharing network, providing the freedom to go where you want, when you want, with the wheels you want. Just join online and receive your Zip card in the mail. Reserve a car when you need it. And tap your Zip card to get in. Keys are in the car. Gas, insurance, and 180 miles included. Return it to the same spot, lock it up, and you're all set until your next trip. Simple as that. Zipcar. Wheels when you want them.
Hi, Tom Bodette. I tried to write this script on my smartphone, but I couldn't figure out how to turn off the autocorrect feature. So you'll have to trust me when I say that at Motel 6, you can still get a clam comforter roam for the loamiest rice of any national chin. You can brook by carving 1-800-4-MOTEL-6 online or with our new mobile applesauce on your phone or toilet. I hate this dock and thong. I'm Tom Bordeaux for Motel 6, and we'll heave the bright on farm you. Close enough.
He might need a layout, and he needed to slow down. But Chicago comes up with a huge D in the end zone. What a play by Joshua Steven-Stein.
Josh just made an elite D. Really an incredible play. Wow, a catch D right in front of Graffy. What a young talent.
Wildfire starting to feel energized. They trail by 4, but they've got the disc late in the Next Saturday, our season-long journey takes us to the best in the West. The San Jose Spiders are the defending AUDL champions and looking even stronger in 2015. Reigning MVP Bo Kittredge leads the Spiders as they return home to battle Los Angeles. The Aviators dream of dethroning the champs, and the last time these two teams met, the game was decided by 1. Join us at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for San Jose and LA, live on Watch ESPN and ESPN3.
And we're back here as we see the airplanes go overhead in San Diego. The Flamethrowers still lead here 13-10. I'm Brian Jones with Megan Tormey, and the Growlers have a lot of work to do to get back in this one. But since last week, San Francisco, Megan, has come in through with an impressive mental start.
Right, and talking with Eli Janning at halftime, he said something very interesting. The slight adjustment they made against the Growler zone was that they just pulled a couple of people back to give themselves a few more opportunities wide, so they've been able to work around that zone with ease. I'm sure that was a huge mental setback for San Diego. They came in thinking what we did last week is probably going to work again. San Francisco making just a couple of adjustments and really having an easy time with it.
And we're about to get started here with second half action, but first let's take a look at some of the highlights that made us here in the first half. And here right away, it was San Diego starting off with some sloppiness.
Right, the momentum that we had expected given their 3-win streak was just not present today. They were misfiring and things were going just a little bit too far out of their way. Miscommunication between players, making it easy for San Francisco to generate some opportunities.
You saw there some great plays from San Francisco, getting some great blocks, as well taking advantage of the mistakes. And it was San Francisco with their chilliness in the play of Eli Kearns and Jannin that really set them apart.
Yeah, they've been having an easy time offensively, whether they start out with the disc or whether they get the disc by way of their actions. And we're seeing that come to light in the 3-point lead they have.
We just saw there Nick Lanslow battled back for San Diego. They made some big plays of their own as this game started to take a back and forth nature. San Francisco got out to a 4-1 lead, and San Diego has been trying to chase the entire time. See here Eli Kearns with a tip, makes the grab in the back of the end zone. San Francisco still with that 3-point lead as we're about to get started in the second half. Both teams huddling up and getting ready. Megan, you've talked about the adjustments here for San Diego. Now, if you're San Francisco on the other side of it, do you change anything up from the first half, or do you just keep doing what you're doing?
You keep doing what you're doing. Perhaps you try and be a little bit tighter on offense, maintain that defensive pressure, intensity. But at this point, I certainly wouldn't change anything unless San Diego comes out with something we haven't seen before.
So San Diego with a lot of work to do, and this game with playoff implications. Both of these teams, we took a look at the standings once before. San Francisco sits at 2-4, San Diego at 3-5. And San Diego in that third playoff spot, we take a look here. The San Jose Spiders 7-0. The Seattle Cascades 4-3. Doing maybe a little worse than we expected them to, just having that presence of club chemistry carry over. And San Diego sitting in that third spot with San Francisco and Vancouver and the Aviators giving chase here in the Western Division. All these teams are going to be playing each other for the rest of the season, so there's really nowhere to hide. And even for a team like LA, who we weren't sure at the start of the season would be good, they've captured some wins and had one stolen from them by Vancouver last weekend. It's been a great battle here, as you said to me earlier, one of the most exciting divisions. Take a look at some other scores. Chicago with a decisive win, 25-14 over Minnesota. And right now, Seattle up on their rival Vancouver, 15-12. We're getting ready to start the second half. I don't know what kind of name Phil is for a wolf, but either way, I'm intimidated. San Francisco getting set to pull. Jeffrey on the line with Dahlman. And we're underway in the second half. The AUDL game of the week on ESPN, back in action, center to Ackley. Runs right away into the opposing mark, drawing a foul. An integrity rule, Ackley just actually turns it down and give it to Gibson right away. Gibson finding Cohen. Every other. Gibson to the end zone for the score. Great start, red hot for the Growlers.
And this is how they began the game, with a lot of smooth, fast movement that generated a very quick point to start.
And last week it was a comeback that we saw as Jesse Cohen gets it into the end zone. Another UCSD Air Squids member. Very fast. Able to play that give and go game and a lot of space available, as you said, Megan.
And Jesse Cohen, one of the hosts of a podcast called Heat Check. He hosts it with his teammate Dom Leggio. They're both NBA/sport fanatics, so you can hear them every week chatting about sports on Heat Check.
So many talented, creative people here in the Ultimate community. I mean, it really just is incredible. I mean, you have guys who have interesting backgrounds, Jordan Jeffrey out of Barrow, Alaska, and plenty of other guys who are doing a lot of different things. Leahy. And a turnover. Gives it back, looking for Kirkland.
That was an uncharacteristic miscommunication from San Francisco. They've been working so well together as such a cohesive unit. It'll be interesting to see what happens if San Diego takes that opportunity and narrows the gap.
So much for the Heat Check. Dom Leggio bringing back the Growlers within one right away. You hear the howling from the crowd, and they're into it. You see an intensity right away. I don't know if this is just a second half team or if they woke up and decided that this wasn't going to be, they weren't going to go down easy, but you can feel the difference.
Absolutely feel a slight momentum shift. I was curious to see if they were going to be able to maintain that intensity on defense, given that both earlier in the game and now they started out on offense, but it looks like they are ready for this action.
This is centered to Jeffrey. Jeffrey putting it deep for Conquer. Conquer, no problem. Fine. And then Fine, trying to go around. Lance on the doorstep. Sugioka. Leahy. Quick dish. San Francisco goes up within two.
Kudos to San Francisco at that point. They seemed completely unfazed by the defensive intensity that San Diego was coming out with. There was a quick double team. They were making fast adjustments. They were really trying to push San Francisco away from the end zone and shut down any opportunities. But San Francisco across the board did a great job of maintaining composure, looking for those open lanes. And of course, it all started with this beautiful backhand huck that is characteristic of San Francisco. Well timed so that the player can easily run onto it with a defender on his back.
They get it back to Leahy and work it around. And just like that, the crowd is a little bit quieter. The Flamethrowers extinguishing maybe some early second half hopes. And this pole is going to hang. Great opportunity right off the bat. Cohen along the sideline. Lenta. Back to Cohen. Curtis. Finding Cohen. And when you float it up to Mickle just like that, you're not too worried. Fits it in the end zone. Purdy with another goal to his totals.
the beginning of that point was some of the best offense that I've seen from San Diego. Their spacing was great. The cutting was hard from the downfield. Did start to cluster up as they neared the end zone, but they still managed to work through the open lanes and not try to force anything, which is something we've seen earlier. When you spread out the field offensively, especially on this wider field, it is such a chore to defend. So the Flamethrowers coming out with quite a task as they started to pull in, making it a little bit easier, but all the same, with Jimmy Mickle, all things are possible.
I mean, we've both been involved in the ultimate scene now for several years at least. Sometimes you go into these half times and you're sitting there trying to make adjustments, and we've talked about this, what can you do? And it just seems like the Growlers have set the tone here in the second half just to work a little bit harder. Focus with their legs as opposed to their throws and their decision making. It's making it a lot easier on them.
And that is a very important distinction, Brian, that you don't have to make colossal changes to win a game. Oftentimes it is small things like that. When you think about how close the games they were losing were and how close the games they were winning were, it certainly wasn't a momentous change that brought that about. It was tiny things that added up to a win.
And it's added up to 3 wins so far here, potentially a 4th. Lance gets the hammer off, but looks like this is going to be called a stall. Or a timeout, actually, for San Diego. They want to tie this game up. Timeout on the field, and the Growlers have come roaring back against the Flamethrowers here in the early action of the third quarter. We'll be right back here with more of it. The AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN.
We're going to teach your kids about sportsmanship, spirit of the game. We're going to teach our kids conflict resolution. They're going to have a great time. They're going to get an amazing message about cancer. It's not a death sentence. It's not something you need to be scared of. It's something that you need to have a winning attitude towards, like an opponent on a field.
The AUDL has brought a lot of professionalism to Eric. The players are all big role models. They're perfect Eric ambassadors. They teach the game. They love kids. Kids love them. It's just a great combination.
Go Team Eric!
We are Team Eric!
Coming out of a timeout, the Growlers get set up here in San Diego. I'm Brian Jones and Megan Tormey. Ackley with the disc, and it looks like San Diego set up with a vert stack. They've got some powerful people on the field. What can you expect from them, Megan?
Well, it looks like they took time to try and set up the offense that they wanted to play. They didn't want to wait for the setup to break down. So as they neared the end zone, tried to get everything into perfect position. I think they're just going to try and run a smart play and just a slight overthrow, which is often the mistakes we've seen from San Diego today, leads to a turn.
And gets it back for the Flamethrowers. The timeout unfortunately took away a wide open Lance Hammer. Finding Leahy. The brotherly connection. This goes back to Taylor. Him and Jeffrey work it together. A lot of space opening up here for the San Francisco offense. Jeffrey to Leahy. Double team. They're getting it off the line. Wide open. Great grab.
Beautiful adjustment too. The stall count was definitely getting high.
And Lance with a smart poach. And just is running for it. Gibson wide open. Has Lance. Puts it deep. See ya. Nick Lance reels it in.
San Francisco too slow to react from Lance, who had the adrenaline of a D surging through him as he sprinted towards the end zone. Gibson, realizing the golden opportunity open in front of him, runs up to the disc, puts out an easy pass for Lance to pull in.
Tied up at 14 all. The Growlers are back in this one. It didn't take much time at all. Great foresight after the great catch, but you see Lance come in. Gets the dunk. And you see Gibson just saying, please give me the disc. I know I want to hit this one. And Lance is going, please?
Please throw me the disc.
I don't want to run anymore. I've done this for a while. And the pull coming back here for San Francisco, put it in the end line. They're able to work it out. Lang puts it up, tipped, and San Diego. We have an injury on the field. Collision taking place. You know, with all the head injury awareness, you just hope that nothing happened there. As we take a look. Kearns gets sandwiched with Milardovich, and Kearns is holding his knee. We'll take a break. We'll be right back in a moment. Tied at 14 here. AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN. Kearns is gingerly walking off the field, now on his own power, thankfully. And Gibson puts it in, finds Mickle for the goal. And just like that, it was 13-10 at half. And it's 15-14 for the home team.
Not 8 minutes into this second half, the Growlers have chipped away at the 3-point lead and now are up by 1. Jimmy Mickle looking ecstatic to have received that throw from Gibson.
Yeah, he said he enjoyed playing. I'm not so sure after that one, Megan. Looks like a pretty happy guy. Jimmy Mickle just is always smiling. Get a great shot of him. Only 23 years old. Has a lot more left in him. Seeing him on the pro circuit hopefully for years to come. Jeffrey, now with San Francisco, Megan, they have to respond here. What do they need to do better?
Well, there has been a few miscommunications, which in the first half we certainly didn't see from San Francisco. So I have to suspect that they are perhaps unnerved by the intensity of the Growlers.
Perfect throw to conquer from Jordan Jeffrey. Second time he's done that in the second half. Just what the doctor ordered here for the Flamethrowers.
Exactly. To finish answering your question, Brian, more plays like that is what the Flamethrowers need.
I think we saw potentially a miscommunication because Conquer was wide open on that one. We even see this developing, and Conquer has got 10 steps. I'm not sure what Parisi was doing. Didn't have any defensive help. Looks back as if somebody's going to come in, but no problem for Jeffrey. Jeffrey has been a standout for a number of years in the club scene, has really, been forced to play a smaller role in a lot of ways, but he's been a few years removed from his years at Stanford where he was a prominent player. And has made some big plays here today. Mickle, as the Growlers look to take back the lead. Too far. Cohen was looking deep. And Megan, I don't think that was a bad decision, just more of an execution error that we've seen somewhat by San Diego here today.
Well, if you haven't played Ultimate, then you might not imagine how hard it is to make a proper put to an away cut. San Francisco is doing a great job of it tonight, making it look easy. We've seen San Diego execute it poorly a few times, which has cost them the opportunity for a score. It's really hard to work on timing when you're working on it, when you're throwing to a target that's cutting away. It's much easier to overthrow them as opposed to a cut that's coming towards you.
Conker lifts one up, finding Leahy in the end zone. And it wasn't Conker scoring this one, but the same thing has happened on multiple possessions where they decide that Henry Conker is just going to be left wide open deep.
So, Brian, you've coached for a number of years. If you see that happen back-to-back where one of the top players on the opposing team is left all alone in the end zone, what do you do to adjust for that? That's an easy mistake that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you start to see a lack of focus from players. It's so hard to define, and that's just one of those things where you know that you've made a mistake. You could harp on it, but sometimes the best thing is to bring the players in and say, we've made a mistake. Let's reinvest right now in this team in this point, and let's go. Or, San Diego has a great zone that's been able to put up some defensive help. So I think they've got to let that one go and just try to get back in the game. Bringing that fire that's erased the 3-point deficit. Leggio will take it for the Growlers. Frisbee finding Gibson. Gibson's such a dynamic thrower. You can see Fine just reacting to the marks, and a great poach by Marleov comes in and disrupts the situation. Excuse me, that was Clay Miller. Actually played with Marleov on the Polar Bears. Sugioka to the end zone to Jeffrey. Jeffrey making plays all over the place, this time with his legs in the end zone. And we get to see a bit of the secret handshake with Lucas Dahlman. Megan, you have one of those on when you get to play in the club circuit with Nemesis?
I don't have a secret celebration, but one of my teammates, Amelia Garcia, and I do have our own handshake. Amelia has a unique handshake for every player on the team.
Wow. Every player.
Every single player.
I mean, I could go as far as getting a separate ringtone for everybody in my phone, but I don't know about a separate handshake.
I'm sure Amelia would be more than happy to make a special handshake just for you, Brian.
Amelia, we're going to have to meet up sometime.
She still has one with Kelly, our replay op.
Kelly Johnson doing
affectionately known as Vegas, my former teammate.
San Diego now in a little bit of a hole. Cohen left wide open. You see, that was just all Jimmy Mickle going deep. Back to Ackley. Cohen. Mickle. What a throw. You know, I'm left speechless, Megan. You think you've seen it all, and Mickle just unleashes a howitzer to the end zone.
What a laser-focused throw. That's tough enough to do with a backhand, but as a forehand, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Finding Andy Curtis in the end zone, and Mickle said, you know, he's wide open. We see here the reaction. Mickle gets it. A little bit of a shimmy and a delivery. Right now, Mickle and Jeffrey are going shot for shot. San Diego still down one. Take a look at our Twitter question. What two other teams will make the Western Division playoffs with the San Jose Spiders, who are left undefeated at 7-0? What do you got in a couple of responses? We could use a couple of responses more, or tell us anything you want to talk about. Put it deep for Dahlman. Dahlman does the hop, gets in the end zone.
Dahlman's such a heads-up player. It's tough to know when you're that close to the end zone running at top speed whether you're going to make it in or out. You really have to be very aware of the situation to be mindful of where the disc is and where the lines on the field are.
4.5 minutes left here in the third quarter. And San Francisco has rebuilt a little bit of their lead, and Conquer over the top. And Purdy's gotten some amazing blocks here tonight. You see a lot of this out of San Francisco players, Megan, and just Dahlman has done so much around the disc today, but yet he goes deep. And you see Jeffrey with a 6'4" frame, but yeah, he's the one throwing for the goals. What is it? Is it something in the water in the Bay Area where they're just great at ultimate?
Well, again, I think that speaks to their versatility. If you have so many people who are capable of putting up beautiful throws, then someone has to go downfield, so it opens up opportunities for people who are comfortable with the disc to make a break for the end zone.
Federico Chiavo gets the block, and just as quick as San Diego has gotten close, and a great D. Cohen getting it back, and now we're off to the races. Putting it deep, looking for Nickerson. Nickerson along the sideline. Back and forth they go. A flurry of grabs, blocks, and goals. Cohen reading the play. I mean, Megan, you've played at the elite levels. How do you teach people to make these decisions so quickly like that? The passing and then the recognition for a wide open player, you just see great split-second decisions. Incredibly impressed by these athletes. How do you train that over time?
I think that's important to start in college, or if you're lucky enough to live in an area where there are high school programs, start in high school. And the mindset has to be as soon as you make a D, you are ready to make an offensive play. There is no time to pause. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop and do something, start off and do something foolish, but you've got to run and make a viable cut downfield before you then set up, or before you turn your cut into a setup.
And there was a collision downfield with Nick Lance and Dahlman. Dahlman holding his head. Not sure what exactly happened. Lance pointing that there was contact along the jaw, potentially.
All right, let's hear it for Lucas Dahlman.
Dahlman seems okay. He's going to get back up. We see here, unfortunate collision. Lance immediately stop and play. Good respect amongst competitors. Janin launches one. Dahlman. Oh my goodness, hops into the end zone. Talking about milking your way to victory.
Absolutely. Clearly he wasn't shaken up badly enough. That was an amazing play. He had the opportunity to catch that 5 yards earlier, but purposely kept it well within his hands, but didn't stop rotation until he was sure he was in.
Dahlman with great tracking ability, but Janin just puts the disc up with a lot of spin, allows that one to float. See the difference maker, game changer, Lucas Dahlman. Janin splits the double team. Dahlman says, I have it, and it seems to just hover right in front of him. So that's thrown from the 10-yard line. And where Dahlman catches this is the other 10. That's an 80-yard plus throw from Janin.
Right, that was still going strong. It was not losing momentum. It hadn't lost his shape. It was still on the straight and narrow.
Mickle has Gibson. And Gibson has to go up early. Salmons. And putting a blade up in the middle of the pack. Tipped. Caught. Madden on the backside. And Purdy is going to be upset about that one. San Francisco will take the timeout. They can regain a 3-point lead. San Diego got back in it quickly. San Francisco just as quickly is back up. The AUDL game of the week. 3 minutes left in the third quarter here on ESPN.
Motel 6 is rolling out their bright, modern, updated rooms across America, so I thought I'd give you the tour. To your right, you'll see some brand new comfy bedding and bold new colors. To your left, you'll find a new flat-screen TV, so luxuriously flat. Plus, a fully updated bathroom. You get all this and more, still for the lowest price of any national chain. Take it in. Take it all in. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Back here out of the timeout, 19-17 lead here for San Francisco. They have an opportunity to punch it in, and Megan, it's been more sloppy play from San Diego that's led them to forfeit a lead they just regained.
Right, coming out of at the start of the game, we saw the Growlers looking rehearsed and cohesive, and then that started to fall apart, and we're seeing the same thing here in the second quarter. They're lacking that consistency throughout the game. They need to keep it together point by point as opposed to having moments of glory and then moments where they're trying to rush something, rush a pass that just isn't quite there.
Janin waiting for the restart. Gibson on the mark. Janin to Dahlman, and another one that just hangs out in front.
Beginning to think they're doing that on purpose, throwing it just at the edge of the line so Dahlman can tiptoe right into it and then make the catch.
They do it to regain a 3-point lead. San Diego will have to battle back once again. You know, with Eli Kearns, I don't think has returned, or he actually was on the point for that after the timeout. But when you have those two throwers, Eli Kearns got the opportunity to travel. You know, me and you both have gotten an opportunity to travel. We went to Dubai for Beach Worlds and got the opportunity to see teams from the U.S. play in Italy, at least. And Eli Kearns just had some incredible throws and has just been building that resume from his time on UC Davis and then and some of the other tours of duty he's gone on here. Mickle back for San Diego. Ackley. Curtis. Parisi. Looking for an option. Flips it up. Finding Ackley. Lenta. Ackley leading the charge, getting every other throw. Curtis. Finding Mickle. Mickle with the length. Mickle tries to slice one through. Megan, that's a very hard pass. It has to be right accurate, right to the receiver, or else it's going to be a turnover. I mean, do you think that's an appropriate risk to take?
Well, someone who has the disc skills like Jimmy Mickle, I think, are allowed a wider range of throws because of their capabilities, because of their accuracies.
And this one again for Conker. Apparently the Growlers just don't want to guard him. Wide open in the end zone again.
Maybe he has some cloaking device. They don't see him till he's cutting deep.
The biggest lead of the game for San Francisco, up 4. 1:48 left in the third.
San Francisco extends their lead to
And another beautiful long put from San Francisco. They are just doing a fantastic job of taking difficult throws and executing them perfectly.
Leahy blasts this one from almost the same place Janin did, and he got a little bit more distance. Anytime you're talking about 85, 90-yard throws, you know, Megan, I have the ability to go out there and drive at 75 yards, but I think the only way I'm getting it to 85 is if I'm in Colorado at the high elevation.
With a tailwind?
Everybody's a hero downwind. Gibson finds Lance. Growlers absolutely need to respond. And we found going down more than 4 is nearly a death sentence. Gibson. Overthrow. Looking for Leggio. It was Salmons on the backhand attempt, and it just looked like Salmons put a lot of muster on that throw that potentially wasn't needed. Kearns, though, is either going to be called for a stall or we're going to have a timeout, and it looks like with the players running on the field, San Francisco knew of the high stall situation, so they'll take a timeout. It'll be their last one here of the game. 53 seconds to go. We'll stay here. San Francisco up by 4. If you're in the huddle right now for San Diego, Megan, I know we've talked about this, but is there any other adjustments you can say at this point? Or is it go out there and just get it done?
Go out there and just get it done.
We know that San Diego has a very talented squad. They have players all from San Diego that have done a great job of coming up through their college systems. You'll get a guy like Will Griffin, who's done a lot of coaching around the area, number 17. And they bring in talent like Mickle, Lance, and Gibson, as with championship experience.
But I think what will be interesting for them to continue to learn over the season, and even though there's still time, it's crucial to learn these lessons earlier, is, you know, they started to develop chemistry the last few games. Now they need to learn to work with one another when the chips are down, when things are not going their way. How can they start to work together? Who has the talents or who has what capabilities to make the turnaround? That's important information that new teams need to learn too. When things are going great, it's easy to learn who's good at what, but when things aren't going well, it's harder to discern, okay, what's my role when the team is down?
You know, if you're San Diego, you're in a weird spot right now in the division. You're up, you're 3-5. You lose this game, you go to 3-6. San Francisco goes to 3-4. This may not be a must-win game. You're kind of playing with a playoff spot, but it's hard because if you just get into the playoffs, you can feel the chemistry coming in. You can feel the opportunity to develop and work out all of these kinks. But you got to get there. A team like San Francisco could take this, and then after that, do you see anybody beating San Jose?
In the West Coast Division or across the league?
Yeah, anybody.
I really don't. I think that the thing that amazes me about San Jose is
Kearns is going to uncork a hammer, and I think, no, it's not Conqueror. It's actually Ben Fine in the back of the end zone. Wouldn't have been surprised either way, but that's a killer 5-point lead. San Diego showing so much promise.
Yeah, some defensive adjustment definitely necessary. That's just too many points, one right after the other, where a San Francisco Flamethrower has way too many steps on his defender. They know that they have the capability and that they want to put it deep.
And you see just the sullen faces and the drooping of the shoulders. And at this point in time, and we haven't seen that return of that zone, but you have to try something different to get yourself back in the game, perhaps. There's nothing else seems to be working. You know, but it all starts with one offensive possession. 26 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Centers to Ackley. Mickle 1-on-1. Now drifting deep. Gibson. Under 10 seconds to go. Gibson bumped on the mark, and we'll see if they give him 10 seconds to throw it here. Looks like by our game clock, it will actually be 3.8. Gibson puts it in. Now puts it deep. Tries for the blade. Caught for the goal. Josh Ackley gives himself an early dinner. Not sure how good the plastic is going to taste, but
perfectly appropriate for a growler to do, though. Take a bite out of the disc. That was a lucky catch. That was a very low throw. Initially, I thought it would certainly hit the turf before it hit a growler hand.
I don't know about, but I just don't know. Did it stay up? No. Ackley with the old baseball trap.
Well, we'll say this is the universe balancing itself out, since the Flamethrowers had a catch that, if the referees had the benefit of instant replay, they would not have ruled a catch. So now all's fair.
The AUDL on ESPN in Balboa Stadium. We actually have 1 second left on the clock here in the third quarter. It's, by our count, 22-18. We've seen Eli Jannon do it before, Megan. And in this case, they are going upwind, but you can never count anything out. Jannon, this one's going to hang. Short of the end zone. And Purdy adds another D to his collection.
Okay, so now we are between quarters. So if you want to be involved in the mini disc toss, you need to get up
Take a look in a minute at the replay. And we're actually going to take a short break. We'll be back here in the fourth quarter with more action. San Diego down 22-18 to San Francisco. AUDL on ESPN.
Zipcar is the world's largest car-sharing network, providing the freedom to go where you want, when you want, with the wheels you want. Just join online and receive your Zip card in the mail. Reserve a car when you need it. And tap your Zip card to get in. Keys are in the car. Gas, insurance, and 180 miles included. Return it to the same spot, lock it up, and you're all set until your next trip. Simple as that. Zipcar. Wheels when you want them.
If you want to follow the AUDL on your phone, now you can. Download the brand new AUDL app on your mobile device and get up-to-the-minute news on your favorite Pro Ultimate team. This is your new home for live scoring, up-to-date standings, game recaps, highlight videos, and more. It's the new best way to follow Ultimate at the highest level. Don't miss any of the thrilling hucks, towering skies, or monstrous layout Ds. Check out the free AUDL app today.
And we're back here at Balboa Stadium, start of the fourth quarter. I'm Brian Jones and Megan Torby. The AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN. San Francisco has built a 22-18 lead. But really, this quarter, Megan, started out with back-and-forth action. Let's take a look at the highlights as we get going here. Plays by both sides, exciting game for sure.
And the Growlers came out with the kind of intensity we were expecting from them. We saw at the beginning of the game. We thought for sure this was the momentum shift necessary for them to take the game. But San Francisco maintained their composure the entire time. Even when the Growler defense was fierce, their offense looked nice and smooth. And then Jimmy Mickle keeping the game alive with throws like this one, an absolute laser to the end zone. However, like I said, the Flamethrowers really keeping it smooth enough to keep them in the game.
And this one here, just an overshot, tipped. Madden says no problem, and Janin says, yeah, I'll put one deep. Why not? Lucas Dahlman giving chase, letting it float out in front.
And that's the matchup that really helped take the game back in the favor of the Flamethrower. Janin to Dahlman, right outside the end zone, some easy passes. Even though the game suddenly went in the Growlers' favor in the third quarter, that, like I said, Janin to Dahlman connection helped pull it away. We now see them back with a 4-point lead over San Diego.
San Diego starting out on defense, needs to chip away at this advantage.
We've got 15 more minutes of most of it. The only way the Growlers are going to be able to do this.
But they have to have confidence going into this quarter, knowing that they can close the gap within 8 minutes. It took 8 minutes for them to close the gap between the 3-point lead that the Flamethrowers had and then go up by 1. So this is not outside of the realm of possibility.
Take a look at our Twitter question. Feel free to tweet at us. What does San Diego need to do in this fourth quarter to get back into this? I know my opinion here, San Diego just has to put together a solid quarter. Sometimes it's the simple things. Work hard. Don't worry too much. Have confidence in yourself, like you said, Megan. It starts things off. There's a foul call. Crowd thought there was going to be a hand block. But a drop gives it right back. Leggio, Goodman, Milardovich finds the around to Gibson. Back to Mickle. Him and Gibson finding Goodman for their trio of give and goes. Milardovich.
That's the 10th throw to keep it at the 30-yard line. Finally, we see a throw that gives them a 10-yard gain.
But Megan, is this the type of patience you were talking about seeing from San Diego?
Yes, it is showing patience, but it's also showing that the downfielders are not moving in a way that is going to help them score this goal.
Mickle, Leggio, quick flip. Finds Gibson, the start they needed, and we've seen this beginning in the second half and now the beginning of the fourth quarter. San Diego gets what they need to stay in the game.
Yeah, no doubt the Flamethrowers are unfazed by them coming out and starting with a quick point.
A lot of patience. Able to work it around, and when you have the length like Mickle, finally you get the opening. First tweet in, Jay Baumer, 42. Keys to the fourth quarter comeback, score more than San Francisco. I would say add a little bit. They need to score 5 more than San Francisco to go for the win.
And Steven98 says San Diego needs to get the disc to Mickle and fire away. Hashtag Micklemania.
The crowd getting back into it, and can really just be a lot of fun for these players that are playing first-year pro, and Mickle's talked about that. San Francisco tries to work it back and forth. Leahy.
And San Diego answering back to this point with the kind of defensive pressure that's making it difficult to move the disc. And just as I say that, the Flamethrowers fire away. Another beautifully placed long put makes it easy for the Flamethrower to pull it down. even when there was close contention, which we don't often see with their long puts.
San Francisco able to work it through and get the eventual goal to Patrick Leahy. Leahy started things off, though, with a beautiful box out of Nick Lance, who was trailing on the opposite shoulder.
To number 52, Patrick Leahy.
And that extends the lead to 4 here for San Francisco as we take a look at the replay.
Flamethrowers are back up by 4.
We see Leahy take off Lance, but Leahy does such a wonderful job of just not allowing Lance to get around him. And eventually they're able to work it down for the easy goal. Still some time left in this one for San Diego. Ackley. Leggio. Cohen. Cohen had Mickle. Thought better of it. Leggio saves the possession. Ackley. With Cohen. Mickle. Looked hard downfield. Puts it deep. Hanging. Coming up with it back in the end zone. That's Bars Lang.
Played some beautiful defense that point. You saw how he read the disc like he was the intended receiver. Put the Growler on his back like it was his defender. Easily came up with that D.
Contact foul, that'll be 10 yards for the Flamethrowers.
With the foul, they'll move it up. Tiavo, great grab. Lang doing it all on this point. Launches a hammer, Kearns once again. Lang almost had it all, had the D, had the layout saving catch, and couldn't get it for the goal.
You know, Brian, I don't think I've ever overthrown anyone with a hammer my entire life.
How many hammers have you thrown, Megan?
That's another question for another time.
One question a night, I guess. So we have some Twitter feeds coming in here, and the strangest one, I think, is we asked about what San Diego needs to do, and we get a response from Stephen G. Hubbard, who's the brother of Ben Hubbard on the San Francisco Flamethrowers. I don't know which team he's rooting for here. Going deep, though, and San Diego responds. It's David Flock, second goal of the game.
Number 27, David Block with the goal.
Take a look here.
Assist,
Nickerson.
Number 22, Cody Kirkland. And the Growlers pull with
It's actually Kirkland on the assist, putting it deep, and San Diego comes back within 3 points in 7 minutes, 31 seconds to go. Lance pulls, gives it to Janin. Leahy. Hubbard gives it back to Janin. Finds Dahlman and is putting it perfectly deep. Just outside the end zone, needs to find some help quickly. Tosses it up out in front for Leahy. And just like that, San Francisco goes back up by 4 points.
Picks up the assist to number 2, Taylor Leahy.
We've talked so much about Lucas Dahlman, Jordan Jeffrey, but Megan, I've been super impressed with a guy like Taylor Leahy. You know, what does he mean for this team and what he provides?
Well, I think that has been in the right place at the right time, which shows incredible field awareness. You saw right there how he saw Jeffrey was in a tight spot, didn't have a great throw, so he made a quick, straight drive to the end zone. Jeffrey made it very interesting pop-up pass to make that score. But players like Leahy really, because they have such good field awareness, because they're versatile as a player, can make the right move because he knows what should happen next. He knows where he should be on defense and offense. It makes for easy plays for the Flamethrower.
Ackley has contact. Ackley a little frustrated. It looked like he was actually getting ready to launch one deep. Now goes underneath. Renta. They work it back and forth. Finding Mickle. Mickle unleashes a flick. Finding Lenta on the doorstep. Back to Curtis. Flip to Ackley. The array of throws by these players. Eli Janin has uncorked some. We've seen Dahlman put a perfect flick huck. And now it's Mickle opening up the field with the big length, the big reach, the big flick.
He puts so much spin on that disc that allows it to leave his hand with the sort of force that it does. That really is a very difficult thing to do. You have to have a very nice tight grip on the disc and also get your elbow moving fast enough to put that kind of spin on it. Not an easy thing to do. Not a lot of people can do it, certainly not with that accuracy. Opens up quite a lot of opportunities when you're able to get the disc across the field that quickly.
6:20 to go, 24-21. San Diego's going to be able to make a run. It's going to have to start soon. An offside called on the pole. So this means a great opportunity for the San Diego defense. We're going to have to see a start in the back of their end zone for San Francisco. San Diego, though, taking their time, waiting for the restart. Trying to find Dahlman, and that's a short field. Crucial mistake as Gibson trots to the disc. Wide open, quick flip. San Diego back within 2. Finding Steve Milardovich.
That was a great setup by Milardovich. You saw him before play was in action, before anyone had really set up on him defensively. Made a hard cut towards Gibson, who reacted quickly enough to pick up the disc and toss it to him without any contention.
So here we are, Megan, 24-22, and we talked about playoff implications as we take a look at the replay. And unfortunate throwaway, but you've got to look at the remaining schedules for both of these teams. San Diego right now at 3-5, San Francisco at 2-4, so they got a few more games. But the remaining schedules are very telling here. They're going to play each other next week once again. Actually, they're playing each other today. And after that, San Diego's got 4 games with the Los Angeles Aviators and 1 game with the Riptide, who are right now at the bottom. Compared to the schedule for the Flamethrowers, who are looking at the remaining opponents of the Aviators, the Cascades, the Spiders. Spiders another, and again with the Cascades, they have a lot of work to do left against some tough opponents. Janin finding Dahlman. Chiavo. Quick flip, gets it downfield. Sammy CK now looking back. So look for an option, floats to Dahlman over the top. And another D, Milardovich. Reese. Gibson. Gibson looks for an option, has to get it off soon. Finds Mickle. What a strike.
Milardovich working tirelessly this point. He is cutting so hard to try and make himself a viable option whenever necessary. And Mickle to Gibson.
Gibson with the power spike. Back within 1 with under 5 to go.
Really, that entire point, I was so impressed to see Milardovich and Gibson working as hard as they were. They were both throwing and going, trying to generate as many opportunities as possible, working hard to ensure an open cut downfield at all times. It's not surprising to me at all to see Gibson in the end zone on that point.
Gibson on the club circuit is one of the most prolific goal scorers, and it's no surprise, like you said. He's got a nose for the end zone. He's 6'2", one of the fastest players in the game, one of the best throwers in the game. A lot of times you're going to see him in the backfield. Very tough to defend. Leahy. Lang. Kearns. Leahy and Kearns. They'll work it together. And another D. Purdy comes through. All six of them along the sideline. Gibson on the field once again. Timeout called by San Diego. 4:22 to go. The AUDL game of the week has just heated up. San Francisco leads San Diego 24-23. We'll be right back with the rest of the fourth quarter on ESPN.
Hi, Tom Bodette. I tried to write this script on my smartphone, but I couldn't figure out how to turn off the autocorrect feature. So you'll have to trust me when I say that at Motel 6, you can still get a clam comforter roam for the loamiest rice of any national chin. You can brook by carving 1-800-4-MOTEL-6 online or with our new mobile applesauce on your phone or toilet. I hate this dock and thong. I'm Tom Bordeaux for Motel 6, and we'll heave the bright on farm you. Close enough.
We're back here as we take a look again at the Purdy D. Comes right through, trying to find Conker, who's been wide open deep. When we look at the San Diego squad, Megan, this is Gibson's potentially, I'm not sure if it's at least a second point in a row. He's played a lot of points recently. Can they keep this up?
That is definitely going to be tough. I feel like at the end of the game, oftentimes you have the adrenaline to keep you going, and also the knowledge that you really don't have that much longer to play. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to keep your top players in the game, especially if they're looking as strong as Gibson is right now. What I think is really interesting, or will be really telling, is can San Diego keep this up? We have seen this kind of intensity from them at different parts in the game, but then usually a mistake or two, or even just the Flamethrowers looking particularly calm, has calmed their intensity, has stopped their intensity dead in their tracks. So this will be interesting to see if they can keep this run going.
Mickle finding Lance. Back and forth. Just right now, a cavalcade of top three players in the game looking for the end zone in the tie ball game. Finding Lenta. Lance fits it in. Really, though, this play started from a timeout and a standstill. And I would love to see a replay of that opening set that we just got to witness, because we saw Lance and Mickle downfield, and they have to honor both of those players going deep. Eventually, it leads to Lance finding Lenta in the end zone, but really, it's a play that starts everything in motion. Mickle is able to play that two-man game. Who do you expect now to make the play for San Francisco? Tied up at 24. They just had some of their guys make some key mistakes.
Well, we have Jannon and Dahlman on the field. We have seen those two pull this team out of a slump before. I would certainly expect no less from them this time around.
Running Dahlman. CK. Chiavo and Jannon work it. CK finding Hubbard. Shannon puts it deep. Back of the end zone, no problem. See ya. Sam Chatterton Kirchmeyer, known as Sammy CK to the rest of the Ultimate community. Had played a lot of high level in the club circuit and now is, talk about a player built for this game. A guy who's that size being able to run around nonstop.
And Janin, of course, with a beautiful put to the end zone. At this point in the game, we have come to expect no less. And the vice president of this production company, Fulcrum Media, coached Eli Janin back in the day. In fact, Luke Johnson says Eli Janin was one of the first individuals he ever coached, so I'm sure he's beaming with pride today to see Janin keep the Flamethrowers in this game for as long as he has.
Luke, of course, doing a great job keeping us all together here today, bringing you this spectacular footage. Glad you could join us. 25-24, 3 minutes to go. Ackley gets stripped from behind. We'll get a 10-yard gain as a result.
10 yards for the Growlers.
Ackley finding Mickle. And we've seen the runs in this game a couple of different times. Megan, we've asked the question, can San Diego keep it up? What do they need to do here in order to make sure they put it in an offense?
Well, I think we've seen it from them the last few points, and that is playing chilly and not trying to force anything that isn't there. These last few points, we've seen some intense defensive pressure from the Flamethrowers, and still the Growlers are not forcing anything that doesn't seem to be prudent.
Gibson tries to put up for Mickle, and just as you said, they wanted to play the chilly ball, but they were unable to do that, and it results in a critical turnover. If you're San Francisco with 2:28 to go, do you try to kill the clock at all here?
I really think that's too much time to try and kill. That can certainly lead to dangerous situations if you're trying to make more passes than is necessary. You know, so many points can take place in under a minute that it seems like. While I don't think they should try and score with expediency, I still think it would be a good idea to work it intelligently, but not think about the time just yet.
San Francisco gets things going. And Mickle playing far underneath Dahlman. Janin had Patrick Leahy going deep, and now we find Conker. Conker to space, finding Kearns. Kearns puts it out in front for Jeffrey, and that's a 2-point lead with 1:53 to go. Both teams out of timeouts. Great smooth possession by the Flamethrowers.
And the Flamethrowers jump ahead by 2.
Take a look again at the replay. Kearns. Eli Kearns, such an elite thrower, and that's going to be an easy throw to Jeffrey. $1:56 left to go. San Diego looking at a situation where they have to score. And they don't have too much time to do it. Finding Ackley.
At this point, I definitely think that the Growlers should be thinking about time. They're going to want to score as quickly as possible, and then work hard to get a D once they throw off the pole.
Gibson doesn't have any options, forced to put it deep, and now the Flamethrowers 2-point lead. Do you start killing the clock right here?
I would certainly think it would be wise to take your time on this point.
Yavo. And a call going. I think that was a travel potentially on the play. That's a turnover, giving it back to San Diego. Talk about new life. The clock is winding down. Ackley tries to put it up. Tipped. Back to Ackley. Gibson. 45 seconds to go. Defense running at the clock. Gibson slides into the end zone. 36 seconds by the clock on the field.
So I think this is perhaps answering the question you were raising earlier, Brian, about keeping Gibson in or whether or not he's tired. I think he's looking a little beat right now, but of course 33 seconds left. You can't afford to not have him on the field.
So 36 seconds to go. I mean, if you're looking here at San Diego, do you try the tiger trap, the snake in the grass that we saw from Atlanta?
You know, I don't think that the Flamethrowers will necessarily put up a huck. And like I said earlier, Evan brought up some really interesting points in the Tuesday's toss about these end-of-game situations. We're so, coming from a different format, the club format, you're so accustomed to the game ending when the last point is scored. But here, they just need to spend 36 seconds playing ultimate. So absolutely nothing needs to be forced. They need to maintain possession. They need to play really, really intelligently, but they do not have to try and force another score.
Very active Marks, gets it to Janin. Flips it upfield. And 20 to go. Leahy. Gets it off to Janin. Putting it up. Conquer. 6 seconds to go, and Flamethrowers will put it to the end zone. With 2 seconds left, they'll extend their lead to 2, and they'll walk away here with a win. So this will be nothing but ceremonial last point with 2 seconds left, and great game here today. And taking a look at the schedules once again, the next game, not for a while here, for San Francisco, or excuse me, the Growlers. They actually play the Aviators on June 6th. And as for the Flamethrowers, they use this as a double-header trip to go up to LA tomorrow. With only a few moments left. 27-25. We'll see if this one stands or if we'll get a last-second goal. 1 second to go, puts it up. Behind the play, and it's gonna end that way. It's Sermani with the grab and the block. This one will end with San Francisco taking it 27-25. Take a look here. Goodman puts it deep. So that will put San Diego at 3-6. They're still in the hunt here, especially with 5 games left with the bottom of the division. San Francisco will have a little bit of a tougher road, but they improved to 3-4, getting set for this playoff chase to begin in the second half of the season. So that will be a final score, and just great one here today. Started off in the first quarter. Flamethrowers got out to a 4-1 lead. They're able to go ahead and avenge their loss. from last weekend when it was a comeback again by San Diego. They were able to take it and win by 3. Alas, it was not in the cards tonight. Great play by Jimmy Mickle, Kurt Gibson giving it all. And so we're going to go down in the field. Megan Tormey is down there. Interview Lucas Dahlman of the winning San Francisco Flamethrowers.
Thanks so much, Brian. Lucas, at times the score was very, very tight, yet you guys maintained your composure. What was going through your mind when the Growlers had a lead and when they were pulling back here at the end?
We just stick to our game plan. We get knocked, I think, around the league with how we go so deep. But it's games like this that keep us battle-tested. And when we have those back-and-forth points, you know, we have faith in every single player that suits up that day. So we just stick to our game plan, and we embrace it. We kind of have a mantra of going for body blows the entire game, and it's going to be like that. You know, we're going to have to grind out some points and really give the fans what they want.
Now, when the chips were down and the score was really tight, it was really you and Eli who seemed to make the difference. Was that by design, or is that just you knew you had to take matters into your own hand and get in the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you just got to dig deep. You know, dig deep and just trying to take over, win your matchups. That's kind of what we communicate, you know, win our matchups. And as leaders on this team, you know, if we're not winning our matchups, we're not doing our job.
So what are the takeaways from this win to take you into the rest of this season?
It's the Wild Wild West. It's a battle every game, and whoever comes out of this division is going to be battle tested. And it's exciting. It's exciting, Ultimate. It's great. This is a great division, a great league in that respect, and every one of these games is just prime time.
Well, thanks so much. Congratulations on this hard-fought win, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks so much, Megan.
Brian, back to you.
Bye, Brian.
Well, thanks, Megan. It's certainly the Wild Wild West here today as San Diego is going to go home. They're going to lose this game, unfortunately, 27-25, and the Flamethrowers will come back and get revenge after their last week's loss. Thanks for tuning in today. It's so long from San Diego. We'll be with you next week. This is the AUDL Game of the Week on ESPN.